We're live.
All right.
All right. So we're talking etiquette.
Yes.
So in our most recent blog post and videos, we talked about the 10 most egregious etiquette breaches, I guess you could say.
Right.
So,
hey, we almost matched today, by the way.
I know. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, I think we could probably do a whole video or a whole talk on just how to manage slow play. Slow play is probably the biggest killer for golf, I think. And we ourselves had to end our round today on the 5th hole because there was absolutely no way we were going to be able to finish it in under 2 hours, which is unacceptable, really.
Yeah.
So there's so many things that...
We're near 2 hours, but yeah.
There's so many things that make slow play happen. And so, and do we even have that? Yeah, we do have it on our list.
Yeah.
It's probably not high enough, but so here's our list. So starting from number 10, we've got giving yourself a gimme.
Yes.
And this is a big thing, I think, in tournament play, too. We had that situation come up just recently where somebody gave themselves a gimme and they won the tournament.
Right, and let me back up on this, too, about the gimme thing. And I received an email after our video from one of my friends, a golf student of mine, who was saying, no problem with gimmies because the number one problem is slow play. So what happens is you start to conflate these things, right, where gimmies are always okay. Well, they're not always okay. It's okay to give gimmies, right? It's even okay, like, okay, this hole is basically over. This person lost the hole already. That's good. Let's go. Let's pick it up. But for someone to take them on their own, that's not cool. And we're talking about situations where it's a putt that is
missable.
Well, you should never pick up. You should never give yourself a gimme. You should be on the lookout to give someone else a putt to move it along. You should never just pick up a ball. You don't want to be in the habit of picking up 6-inch putts because we've even seen that as a problem in like worldwide golf. We've seen it in big events where somebody, a college championship where somebody assumed this 3-inch putt would be good. Before her opponent could give it to her, she picked it up. And you can't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. So we've beaten that horse to death.
Yeah.
Right?
So we'll go down this list really quick, and then we're going to talk about some of the comments that we got that we didn't list. Some of the things that were not in our list. So we have playing out of turn. Number 8 is unsolicited advice. Number 7 is slow play, which we could expound on for endlessly. Sure. Number 6 is shadows or movement in someone's shot. Number 5 is playing loud music on the golf course. Number 4 is golf bag on the green. Number 3 is disrespecting the golf course, and that includes not raking your bunkers, throwing trash on the course, not fixing your divots.
Right, not leaving the golf course. I always leave the golf course in better shape than I find it, but it could even be just leaving the course in worse shape than you found it.
Right. Talking or making noise in someone's swing. Let me just double check this. I'm going to go off Wi-Fi here so Instagram doesn't lose us.
Okay.
Number 2 is talking or making noise in someone's swing. Number 1 is walking in someone's line. So those are the top 10 in our humble opinion. So some of the comments that we got. So we got a ton of comments. It looks like John Blake is saying, I don't know what that means, John. Maybe you can clarify.
I don't think that pick it up of my own ball got the stink eye. You probably typed it too fast. Or maybe like sometimes you type it and the autocorrect screws it up.
Right. All right. Yeah. So Aylin Mayer-Thorpe says, the thing that bugs me when playing golf is groups ahead of me that are slow and won't let me play through. Our course does not have a marshal, and this is common during play, or several groups will team up for a team of 8 or more, even though they're so, I can't even imagine that.
Can we talk about playing through first?
Absolutely.
So here's the thing about playing through. If it's, you should not go about this game thinking that, oh, if I'm a little slow, if we're a little slow, we'll just let people play through. You shouldn't have that as being your fixed for slow play.
Right.
Your fix for playing slow is playing at a reasonable pace. A reasonable pace is if you have 4 people playing, you should be able to play 18 holes of golf in less than 4 hours and 15 minutes. I mean, there's no... I've not been at a golf course where a foursome should take more than 4 hours and 15 minutes. When you have cart path only, that makes it harder. When you have people playing from multiple sets of tees, that makes it harder. We're around that all the time, okay? But there are things you can do to ensure that you're playing under 4 hours and 15 minutes. And when I'm playing with a group, I am extremely aware of pace of play. And I play with other people sometimes who are guilty of doing some things that make them play slower, okay? So one of them can be, let's say we're playing with another couple, and you're up on the red tees and we're back on the blue tees or something. Well, we've already discussed this. The better player from those forward tees should play before the player that's not as experienced. And the reason is that second player, maybe they made a triple bogey in the last hole. When they hit their shot, a lot of times it's their turn next. And so they have to get their head cover back in the cart, get the club in the cart, right? You have to wait for them, then you drive them to their ball, you're still waiting for them to hit their shot. If that person hit first, then they can get ready to hit their next shot while you're hitting your shot.
Right.
So a lot of times, especially when you have people on the forward tees, if there's a difference in skill there, try to forego the first tee honors and let the newer golfer go ahead and hit first. We found that helps out a lot, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Another thing is, be ready to hit your shot ahead of time. When you pull up to a tee, pull out the club look at the scorecard, look at the yardage of the hole, pull out the club you think you're going to need, take one club shorter and one club longer and get up on that tee box, right? Don't walk all the way up to the tee, look around at the yardage and walk all the way back.
Right.
Those are just a couple of things.
And another thing is, we've seen it in a couple situations on our home course where the starter does not pair 2 sets of twosomes up together because for whatever reason, one set of pair of people don't want to play with another person. If you're not prepared to play alongside someone else, you shouldn't be on the course.
Or at least not at a time when...
You shouldn't
I'll
have
just tell you,
two groups of twosomes back.
And I had a job when I wasn't free when my friends were free. I went out as a single all the time. And 95% of the people that I met and that I played with were great.
Right, absolutely.
So you'll find that and we met a cool guy when we played down at Myrtle Beach last weekend.
Yeah.
Micah, really cool guy.
And we ended up running
into him later on. So
you'd be surprised at how many really cool people you meet. We played with a couple of minor league baseball players. In Florida.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah, and we also had our home course. We got paired up with a couple. Husband-wife team. The wife was a newer golfer. She did awesome. She did great. He was great too.
Yeah.
And they were a pleasure to play with.
Yeah,
so
they were really great to play with.
And we thank goodness we got paired up because we would have been waiting forever if we were just a twosome out there.
Absolutely.
So when you're out there and you're not with another group, a lot of times the starters, they don't want to tick you off by suggesting that you play with this other group. Offer to play with the other people, and we found that overwhelmingly it'll be a good experience. And it's never a great experience if you're a twosome or a single and you're waiting on everybody up ahead of you. By the way, back on the playing through thing that we had talked about, Lauren, the reason why allowing groups to play through is a problem is that if it is a busy day, well, that group behind you that you're letting them play through, well, now you're waiting on them, and the group that's behind them is still going to be waiting on you anyway. So all you're doing is that one group, they're getting the benefit of getting through you, but now you've just backed everyone else up 5 or 10 minutes or whatever it is.
Right.
So the solution is not just letting them go through. The solution is playing at a reasonable pace.
Right.
Now, if it's not a busy day and there's not a lot of groups out there, and we have done it where we've been in a foursome, and we've allowed a twosome to slip on by us, right? And then maybe another twosome shows up an hour later, that's fine. Another thing, too, is if you're playing at a foursome, you're playing at a good pace, it's really not right for you to have to keep stopping over and over and over again to let singles and twosomes zip through you. So play at a reasonable pace. And if you have questions about how to play at a reasonable pace, let us know. We will come up with some answers for you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right, so Paul Green says, great advice, Coach. Mine is pulling the flag and letting it fall and smack on the green. For some reason, this makes me cringe. Just place it well out of the way, take care of the course, and it may take care of you.
Wow, I understand that. And once you notice it, it's going to get you, right? So I don't know how. One thing I would say, Paul, on that one is I have a few pet peeves for myself on etiquette, and once somebody does it, it's kind of a challenge to be able to say something to say. How do you tell somebody after they've done that not to do that? I bet you, Paul, you run out and grab the flag and try to set it down before anyone else can get it.
Yeah.
I know, Paul, by the way. I know you're not like looking to get in arguments with people, but
another thing on the Flagstick.
Nowadays,
now that the Flagstick is legally allowed to stay in the hole when you're putting, some people have preferences on that.
Sure.
We've played with people who prefer to have it out. We've played with people who prefer to have it in. We've played with people who don't care.
Right.
Generally speaking, back to the slow play thing, it's best if you can be a little bit more accommodating and just, whatever the group's preferences, do it. Taking the flag out, putting it back in, doing that madness is just excessive and takes a lot of time.
Now, this COVID really helped me on this one because for those of you that are watching that have been playing golf a long time, I was really uncomfortable with a putt that mattered with the flagstick in. Like, I'm just not used to making putts that matter for anything with a flagstick in. And so when that rule first came up that you could leave it in, I really disliked leaving it in. But like you said, if other people want it out, I'm not going to say put it back in for me. But then when COVID took place and everyone kept the flagstick in, it made it a lot easier. So,
and quicker.
I do think that if you decided to leave the flagstick in, that might make you be able to play faster, leave it in all the time, right?
Now, if you do take the flagstick out, the person who putts and finishes first is responsible for.
Yeah, they should go get that flag. This could be an extenuating circumstance where they might not, but yeah. You don't want to be, boy, do I hate being the last guy to putt and knock it in, and then no one's there and I got to go fetch the flag and put it in.
That's one of his pet peeves.
Yeah.
All right, so Joseph Valenti says, I've been playing golf for 28 years. I still ask all the time for walking in someone's line, but these days, 90% of players not wearing spikes. I want a Mythbuster test on this because I think it's actually bullcrap. It never impacts my ability to putt and have never noticed a difference in my roll.
So that would be a good Mythbuster event, right? Now, I can tell you that when you walk on the green, it does create a small indentation. It really does do that on most greens.
Especially good greens.
It makes a little indentation. Now, I also know that, Dave Pells had a training aid where you would put a ball in a little indentation and so it would stay in place and you'd putt from there. And then he said that he ran tests on it and that little indentation didn't change the way the ball would roll initially. So that you could be right. Now, even if you're right, it's still an etiquette issue, right? So until we change how we view that, I won't be stepping in people's line.
And this, right? I mean, I think it's the same way, like, you're your own referee. If they all of a sudden started having referees on the golf course, like, it would change. Right. It would change the dynamic of the game.
What was his name again?
Joseph.
So one thing too, Joseph, I would say is there are many times where, especially when I'm conscious of pace of play, somebody will be up near the hole, and if they have to putt, they'll be putting in my line. I'll say to him, "Don't worry about my line, knock it in. Let's get this thing going." That's what I'm thinking. So,
even if somebody tells you though, don't worry about your line, don't clomp through.
Boy, there is a great. I don't know if you can find it, but there was a golf tournament once where Phil Mickelson was playing Scott Verplank coming down the stretch, and I've referenced this many times in lessons. Phil is left-handed, Verplank right-handed, so there's a situation where if Phil went to putt, and they were both like 4-footers, if Phil went to putt, he'd be standing in Verplank's line. If Verplank went to putt, he'd be standing in Phil's line, and they were both like either tied for the lead or there's a one-stroke difference. It was coming down the stretch, so every putt it was thousands and thousands of dollars at stake. And Phil ended up putting, and Verplank told him, "Don't worry about my line." And Phil made one of those weird setups where his foot was up in the air and made the 4-footer. So he would rather risk missing the putt than stepping in Verplank's line. So,
which is a lesson, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so Dan Smith says your list is great. I would lengthen it with when playing cart path only conditions, carry 3 clubs with you out to your ball. You had mentioned this.
Yeah.
If your group's tee shots
or take your bag off.
Yeah, you can take your bag off. That's easy enough. If your group's tee shots are scattered, don't congregate at one person's ball if at all possible, so you can hit your shot in a timely fashion when it's your turn. Leave your bags or cart close to the exit from the green rather than in front so the next group can hit. You may have gathered I hate slow play. Delays like searching for lost balls are inevitable. Don't make things worse if you can avoid it. That's another thing.
That's Dan, right?
Yeah.
So Dan, yeah, you're on the money with that, and it's a lot of typing, I know, but if you're trying to, if you're doing all you can to move along, and you think about it while you're getting ready to hit a shot or playing, people can go so much faster. So just the idea of you and I playing, and Lauren usually outdrives me actually. I'm usually hitting first.
Not by much though.
But I'm usually hitting first.
Yes.
And so for me to pull up there, get out of the cart, make you sit there and wait, and me hit my shot and then put the sand in the divot, clean out the club, put it in, then we drive to your ball, then we sit again. It would be so much better if I got out and you drove up to your ball.
Right.
Now, in cases where if we're both in the fairway, you couldn't quite go that quick with it. But yes, it is maddening to watch people watch someone else sanding their divot and cleaning their club and putting it in, and yeah.
And we don't play often where we are in a cart.
Right.
So, I mean, sometimes we do, but we did recently, and Caden and I shared a cart,
right.
And I would either drop her off at her ball and go to mine,
right.
or she would drop me off, vice versa.
Right.
All right.
Boy, we could do a whole talk about pace of play.
I know, we really could. Anthony says, throwing your clubs, especially past my head, that was a good one. Playing the ball as it lies, a 200-yard shot that's buried in the rough is way more difficult than a 200-yard fluffed-up shot in the rough. And that was from Nicholas Sandstone.
So you know what though, Nick? Like, that's a great example of what's great about golf, because if you cheat at golf, you're cheating yourself. Because that person that does that, they do it habitually. And they end up with a handicap that is lower than it should be. And then when they have to play in a tournament and they're not allowed to do that stuff, they get smoked. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so.
Now, if you're in a like a scramble tournament, that's a different case. Like, you can.
Yeah, I don't consider scramble tournaments.
Right, just your own ball. Yeah, I mean, but people hit mulligans all the time. They hit breakfast balls on the first tee, and that's not.
But again, you know what it does is if you're doing if you're doing breakfast balls all the time, taking mulligans all the time, and then you get in a scramble tournament even, and they say, "What's your handicap?" Your average score. Oh, my average score is a 80 or a 76, and really your average score is a 90. Your whole team's going to be losing those handicap strokes.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Next is Dream A40. Someone who removes the flag but stands too close to the hole or behind the hole on your line of putt. This one really annoys me. They need to move well away from the hole so I'm not distracted by the presence crowding the hole. I agree with this. There's like those people that are like really close talkers. I think those are the same
I gotta
people.
tell you, I would love to have had a camera on Danny and I playing golf like years ago.
Did you guys try to do that to each other?
No, somebody would do that and Danny would just be like, "Hey, could you not stand there? Hey, stop talking."
We should
you
all
only
be
gotta
more
say
like
it
Danny.
once.
But that is definitely, and I don't know what that is, but it's uncomfortable.
It's just not really. Usually that's from being a newer golfer, not really knowing where to be, you know?
Okay.
And by the way, I'll also say this, when you're with a new golfer, these things don't bother you at all. Not very much at all. They bother you when you're with somebody who should know better, in my opinion. Like, it doesn't really bother me if the new golfers making mistakes like that.
And when Mike and I were first starting to play together, when I was really a newer golfer, he would repetitively tell me when I was breaching some sort of etiquette. And at the time, I was like, man, I don't feel like I can't do anything right. But over time, I felt like, you could take me to the course and we could play with somebody and you wouldn't be embarrassed by my behavior.
Right. We talk about that in ladies golf. By the way, is this the Instagram? We're on Instagram and
That's
YouTube.
Instagram. That's YouTube.
So on the YouTube one, they said, is this an Instagram only chat? Are we missing the Instagram ones? Or the...
No, I got the.
Okay.
Sorry. We'll get your comments.
But yeah, so when Lauren was first getting into this, I just was relentless about informing her about etiquette breaches, and you didn't love it all the time. You said that you wanted me to do it, but you didn't always love it.
No,
all
it
the
was
time.
very frustrating at times.
But it was only a few weeks, and then you got pretty good.
Yeah, it was. There were moments where it was frustrating, but I feel like it made me a better golfer overall, just to be able to know that kind of stuff. All right, next is Doug Cook. A couple of things I don't like are crowding the tee ground, stand off to the side outside the markers when you're not up, and definitely don't stand directly behind the person who's hitting. Stand still while others are putting, especially behind the hole on their line. And again, don't be standing directly behind them. It's poor etiquette. Driving up on the group in front at the tee box. If you catch up to someone because it's slow, park back, let them have the tee box.
Yeah. Another thing, Doug, you probably hate this too, is if you, once you putt your ball out and it goes in the hole, pick it up, take it out of the hole, don't leave it in there, right? It's just, boy, that gives me an uneasy feeling. And also, when you hit your ball in the green, mark it and pick it up and get it out of the way. That way, no one thinks you might be about to putt. Go ahead and mark the ball, you know. I know that someone could think that's going to take more time. It really doesn't have to, especially if you're ready to go when it's your turn.
All right, so next is Mello. Stop with the excuses. Stop with blaming your bad play on everyone else. Don't be one of these two with all the excuses.
Oh, that was one of those other comments. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that meant like we were making somehow pointing out that this etiquette breaches
affect our game.
Affect the game. We're not even. I don't think we're really talking about that. I don't think we once said that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that is. Lee Pullum. None of these would be done in the UK, which was interesting to me. I wonder if he's probably not here right now, but I'm curious if anybody's watching from the UK, what are some of the things that happen in the UK, and why don't these etiquette breaches happen in the UK?
So I can tell you that growing up, when I was a caddy and I was around, even if they weren't fancy, golf clubs, there were etiquette was overall definitely a lot better. And I have known of people that, and then back again when I was growing up, you didn't hear of many people taking up the game that weren't kids, that weren't basically, like if Caden's with us here and makes a mistake, we're going to pretty quick say, don't do that, blah, 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 right?
Right.
But when someone takes up the game at 40 years old, I'm amazed at how many people don't rake their bunker. Like when I hit a ball, I can't get over people that won't rake their bunker. There's a rake right there. Like we played the other day, right after that rainstorm, you couldn't even rake them, and I was still trying to rake them. Like I don't understand how people do.
We were playing a couple years ago now, and we noticed a couple golfers ahead of us didn't rake their bunker, and then we noticed them do it again. So I think you gave them a pass on the first time. The second time, Mike actually went up to them and said, "Hey, you need to rake your bunker." And did the guy know? All right.
Yeah, he knew.
Tim Bryant says,
"Hey, Tim.
Walking across the green. I was always taught to walk around the green and push their push cart directly across the green. Is this a rule or just an unspoken etiquette?"
That is taking care of the golf course.
Yeah, so
right?
that's etiquette.
Yeah, so we have a putting green out here that it's positioned in a way that it would be people would be tempted to walk across the middle of it, and we used to actually kind of rope it off so we wouldn't have a trail going across the middle. We took them down because the ropes looked bad, and people are pretty good about it. Yeah, trying not to walk directly through the middle of it. It's kind of like just think about everywhere you walk. If everyone did it, would there be a path? Is that common of a place? So. And of course, never pull your pull cart across. I think in our little discussion, we talked about it maybe. We have a par 3 golf course, a pitch and putt golf course, so it's great for brand new beginning golfers. And all the time, I'll notice people bringing their cart or their pull cart or their bag and resting it on the green. And that's a great place to make the mistake because I'll just go over and nicely explain to them
Hey,
that
listen.
we don't want to do that as an etiquette breach. But the trouble is, if you did that at another golf course, you'd probably be a brand new golfer to do it, and then you'd get blown up by somebody, and you might not have a good feeling about golf after that.
Right. So Tim, if you're still watching, I'm just getting some of these comments from our YouTube video that we posted a few weeks back, so we wanted to just kind of touch base on those. All right, so
Someone's asking, where's the chat? See that? Oh, it's Tim Bryant. Never mind. He got through.
There's no chat. Don't panic. Everything's good. So we had a couple more. Oh, somebody just commented. Joe Flagstick said, the unsolicited advice is one that drives me nuts. As a high handicapper who still has a lot of work on the game, the course is not the place to get a free lesson from a weekend instructor.
I mean, both ways. It's not going to help you to get advice on the course. And we've come across a lot of people who say, oh, if you want to tell us anything, go ahead. And I almost never ever do, because I know it's not the place to hear it. You know, if there's a soldier in a foxhole in a firefight, you're not telling him his technique needs to change. It's like, let's get through this fight, right?
Yes.
So you don't need that on the golf course. So that's
Right.
why I never even think of that. Occasionally after the round, I'll let them know a couple things if they want to know. You know.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, if you are a experienced golfer and you're seeing, you're playing with somebody, they may be doing some things the way that they feel most comfortable doing them, and they may not have time to go through the swing changes that will be required by changing something. So I would really, really be hesitant to offer advice to someone, even if it was good advice, in my opinion, because I don't know how much time the guy has to work on it or the girl has to work on it, right?
And it's tough because we sometimes will, like, it comes up at some point what we do for a living if we're playing with people we don't know.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get them to understand that, A, we're not going to give them advice even if they ask for it, because that's not what we do. It's not how we make somebody play better.
Right, and even when we have a formal lesson, we always find out how much time does this person have to work on it, what are their goals, blah, blah, blah. So we watch what we tell people in an actual lesson, never mind just throwing out stuff.
And a lot of times when we give advice, even in a lesson, things can get worse before they get better.
Yeah, you don't like it to, but sometimes,
Yeah, sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
So, all right, Mike King says, I'm sure you have a lot of comments, but I have a pet peeve, not repairing ball marks in the green or doing it wrong and causing bad areas in the green. Then there's leaving the flagstick out so the next group can't see where the hole is. My favorite on the range is not hitting in a line. Example, the guy next to me makes 4 practice divots and then hits 6 inches behind the ball, take an even bigger divot. I wanted to say they should have charged you $7 for balls and $20 for sod.
Right, so he's talking about, for one thing, I would say if you fix your divot, fix your ball mark on the green, even if you don't do it perfect, it's going to be better than not doing anything, right?
Right.
And also, what I would recommend too is, depending on the type of grass you have, there's a couple different ways that the superintendents at the golf courses like to have them repaired. So usually in the golf shop, the place you play at, they might even have a little sheet or something posted in the locker room or something, how they want them repaired. So look into that.
I think maybe we should do a video on that too. Maybe teaching people how to repair their ball marks.
We could do, well, yeah, all of our greens are here at Bermuda now. We don't have any very little bends now, but yeah. And then what he's talking about with the driving range is, when you're taking divots on the range, instead of making divots all over the place, he's saying get them in a straight line. But that's also one where the superintendents have their preferences. Some of them like to have the strips with some, so they like to have a strip of divots like that, and then they like to have another strip with nothing, so there's grass, and then another strip with divots. Some people like to see a square like a towel of all the divots taken. Now, around here, we would rather see the divots with a lot of grass left in between the strips, because we have Bermuda, and the Bermuda can kind of grow in. I know that might be hard to talk about just without showing you pictures or anything.
Right.
Yeah. And then a lot of guys that do the bent, where They're replacing divots later, or they may even put sod down. They may prefer to have like the towel style divots.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense how I said that?
Yeah. Yeah, I understand, but maybe that's a topic for another one, another video.
Trouble is, it depends what you walk up to. A lot of practice tees aren't pure. Like with us, we're fighting 12 months out of the year, fighting the divots. You know?
Yeah, it's tough. The last thing Mike King said, looking for a ball for 15 minutes in the woods or dipping for free balls in the water hazard, holding up play. That's another one. Like it all goes back to slow play.
I wonder, do you play at a muni, Mike? Like, do you play a municipal golf course? I'd love to know what kind of course he's playing at. I haven't seen as much of the ball dipping stuff as I did up north when I played at the munis.
Actually, we see sometimes the starters.
Yeah,
doing
Tim says,
that.
I'll buy you a sleeve. Believe me, I feel the same way. And look, guys, I do not go to play golf to hunt for golf balls. That's not what I like to do. I'm there to play golf. So if I hit in the woods and I don't think I'm going to get to it, I'm not even spending 1 minute, right? I mean, I don't need to get ticks. I don't need to get whatever I get.
Snake bites.
The mud all over your shoes and up your leg and all that. I don't need any of that stuff. So.
And what's the rule now? It's 5 minutes to look for a lost ball?
I think it's down to 3 or 4. They changed it. By the way, our buddy Mike likes to look for balls.
Who's our buddy Mike?
Mike. I won't say last names, but.
Oh, okay.
Mike and Chris are Mike. He likes to look he comes home with a lot of golf balls. But he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it with. He goes out on his own and hunts them.
Because he lives on a golf course, so he does have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and that goes actually to the topic of like what type of golf ball to hit. I know that's kind of a separate tangent, but you really should be sticking with the same type of golf ball, right? Hitting the same type of golf ball.
I would look first at that, at economics. What do you want to spend on golf balls? If you don't want to spend a lot of money on golf balls, get whatever you want to get, find whatever you want to find, and then based on how much money you feel comfortable with in the game, you can go towards hitting Pro V1s all the time.
But we buy the lost golf balls. I think it's lostgolfballs.com.
Yeah, we've done that. We've done like the Snell golf balls. So, you know, we don't always go out so we don't have a big pro shop here, so I don't have a good deal with Titleist and all that like I used to. So we pay for our own golf balls. And what I do is I buy the Snell golf ball, which I believe is a good quality golf ball that performs really well. Or we've done the highest quality water balls from lostgolfballs.com. And we're not affiliated with these guys anyway. We're customers. And this is an etiquette video, but my thought on the golf balls are there's only 3 golf ball manufacturers that control the process from beginning to end, where they don't have somebody that's just contracted to come with golf balls. That's Titleist, Bridgestone, and Strixon. So I believe that those 3 golf balls are probably the best quality brand new golf balls. But with them been sitting in a lake for a while, there's a chance that they're no longer of such good quality, right?
Right.
So the Snell golf ball, if you get a good Snell golf ball, and I'm not positive if they're as good quality wise as the Titleist are. I know that a good Snell is, I believe, as good as a good Titleist, but so in any event, we're kind of managing what we want to spend versus the quality of the ball.
Bottom line is don't spend time.
Don't make other people wait for you to get golf balls. I think we all agree. I think everyone's watching this to either learn to do better or to see if everyone has the same pet peeves, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone arguing.
No, I think our topics in our videos were pretty spot on. I don't think that we missed anything necessarily. Anything else?
I mean, talking or making noise in someone's swing. I have been around people that chronically do that. They're just flat out they don't care to think about other people. And what I've found is I just avoid playing with those people. I don't go play with them. And if you're in a tournament or something, I just grin and bear it the best that I can. And I've even played in matches against people for a few bucks, like who they'll pick up their own 4 and 5 footers. And oof. I stop, associating with them.
Another thing is managing your frustrations on the golf course, I think, too. Nobody really wants to play with anybody who's has no control of their emotions.
No, it's awkward. You can ruin the fun for everyone else if you're a real hothead out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
And I got to tell you, like Lauren and I play a lot together. There have been times where you've been playing well and I've been playing bad, and I'm getting frustrated, and I'm sure it kind of puts a damper on your good day. And there are times that you've been frustrated and it's put a damper on my day a little bit. Right? One other thing, hey, you may not know this, but if you're playing against someone and they're playing great, be happy for them, congratulate them. So I'm going to out you on this one. How long ago do you know where I'm going to go with this one?
Yeah, I know.
We're playing
I mean, how many times
this had to
do we
be
have
5
to
or 6 years ago.
this?
And so in my
5
life,
or 6 years ago, he's still hanging
the
on.
the most birdies I've ever made in my life consecutive were 4 in a row. I've done it twice, and the second time was with her. And we were at Pine Hollow, and I'm pretty sure I birdied 9, 10, 11. I birdied 12, and she just starts pouting, legitimately pouting and huffing and puffing that this sucks because she's losing. And I don't do that. Don't do that. If someone is doing well, be happy for
Maybe
them.
one day he'll
It may not happen that often.
One day he'll let go of this.
I'll never
for me.
forget it.
Anthony says music. When they walk away to the green, you just left and leave the cart playing the music at or near your hole. Actually, funny story, Sam, who
is here
we
today.
asked to be on live with us today, we were playing with him at Pine Hollow, and there was this group in front of us who were playing their music unbelievably loud, and it was, you could hear it across
Multiple
two
holes.
holes.
Multiple holes. It was really bad.
It was really bad, and we were getting frustrated, and it was bad music.
What did it was they were on the par 3 ahead of us, and they were on the green, and they were screaming at each other because that's the only way they could hear each other because the music was so loud. And that was the last straw. And then Sam went ahead.
Sam drove his cart up there, and
Sam's a really nice guy. So
yeah, he's not.
He's not.
He
It probably didn't bother him.
He probably did it in such a way that they're now friends.
He
I don't
said
know.
these squares with me can't handle the music.
Tim says people who practice on the course constantly dropping another one, missing a putt, then hitting another one. Yeah, that's another slow play kind of thing.
Yeah.
On that note, I have been in situations where when there's nobody waiting on us and I hit a bad shot, I'll take out another ball and hit a shot
That's all
just
great.
to
You should do
try.
that.
And when you're learning, that's a really good thing to do, but do not do it at the expense of the people behind you. I would never even dream of doing that if there were people waiting behind me.
It's really something because I think that someone who does that, you see the context. Oh, this guy's a good player. This girl's a good player. She hits a bad shot. She drops another one. She hits a practice shot. Oh, okay, maybe I should do that. But they're not thinking, what was the exact situation? There was no one behind her when she did it.
Right.
Right? And I think it's a good idea if you can, when you hit a bad shot, go ahead and hit a practice shot, but then continue the hole with your first one. By the way, this isn't a casual round, of course. I think that's a good way to do it. One other thing, though, if you live on a golf course especially, and I've seen this a lot, don't take like your shag bag with 50 balls in it and go out to like the middle of the fairway and hit 50 practice shots and take 50 divots right there. And then you pepper the green with ball marks and leave all the ball marks.
It's not good.
Not
good. All right. Tim says, how dare you birdie 4 in a row in my presence? I think he's right. How dare you? How dare you?
It was an accident. You would think it was how often it happens.
Joe Falsick said, what are your thoughts on people hitting provisionals off of the tee when the tee shot's landing is not clear? That's...
Got to do it.
You got to do it.
So Joe, you must, how do I say this? You can only hit a provisional ball if you believe that your tee ball may be lost or out of bounds. And when I say lost, I mean not in a penalty area. So if you hit your ball and you see it goes into a red staked area, well, you're not hitting a provisional. Now that could be, you could play your next shot from that spot and you got to live with it, right? But that's not a provisional situation. But if somebody hits a ball they think could be out of bounds or lost somewhere not in a penalty area, then they really should play a provisional. Because if they don't, then they follow the rules. They got to go all the way back to the tee box. By the way, there is a new rule that was put out for use that can be adopted by golf courses, and it's meant for usually more casual play, so not a tournament.
And it's probably for slow play purposes.
It is. So, and what it is you go to, if you hit a ball, you lose it in the woods or out of bounds, you can go to the area near there, and then in proximity, and I don't know exactly how it's written, I should probably read it verbatim. You can take a drop out in a clear area, maybe even in the fairway, and then you add 2 strokes. So what you're doing is you're basically playing like, okay, I've hit my first ball out of bounds. If I hit my second one from the tee, now I'm lying. So 1 in the woods, 2 on the tee, 3. You're lying 3, hitting your 4th shot in the fairway, which that's how things would have played out had you hit a really nice second drive.
Right.
Probably. Yeah. So that's a good way to play for pace of play. It does kind of make you're going to have scores that will be indicative of a better player than you might be, is the only thing I don't like about it.
Right. But it does save some time.
I couldn't imagine someone who's a new golfer that's, if they counted every shot, they'd be shooting 120, 130. I couldn't imagine them going back to the tee and replaying or playing.
And if you're playing if you're playing a casual round, don't go back to the tee. Don't look for your ball for 5 minutes and then go all the way.
Unless there's no one back there, but you rarely see that. But
yeah, rarely. Yeah. All right. Is that a stroke? Tim, what do you mean by that?
Oh yeah, he's got the local rule.
Okay.
2 clubs into the fairway. That sounds good. And it's a 2-stroke penalty then.
Okay.
So basically, they're trying to make it as if the person hit a decent shot as their 3rd shot.
On another note, with that provisional talk, we played golf with a young lady who hit her first shot. She thought it might be out of bounds. Hit her second shot with the exact same ball.
Same model, same number.
And found both balls, but didn't know which one was the first one. So
Lost ball.
Make sure that you know what ball you're playing. So
they should have been both lost balls.
Right, and they weren't.
And I remember this. This was a tournament, and it was an important tournament. And you just, frankly, you got to do in that situation. And here's the thing: I'm going to call you out in front of the whole world that watches this, right? When you're playing golf in a tournament, your responsibility to the entire field is to make sure that the game is fair. So when that person basically should have had 2 lost balls on that hole, which would have resulted in her making a huge number on that hole.
Right.
Since you didn't call her on it, you basically were undermining the entire field, right? I know you were thinking, it's like, I don't want to get into it with this person, right?
Right. And that's a hard conversation to have. Yeah. And for me, at the time, I was still...
You were kind of new.
I mean, I'd only really been seriously playing for 3 years, so I didn't feel comfortable.
By the way, this situation, and this has come up with some of our junior golfers in tournaments, whenever there's a dispute on how to proceed, or there's a question on how to proceed in a rule, play a second ball. And then you'll have 2 scores for the hole. So play your first ball the original way, and then play a second ball, which would be the disputed way. At the end of the day, before you send your scorecard, go to a committee member and explain what happened. Let them help with the ruling, and then you can get the right score. Okay?
That's really
important. So you can always play 2 balls. So our junior golfers, if you're watching this, I had someone question me on this. Play 2 balls when there's a question, and then when you're done, go into the committee, the person running the thing, and they'll help you with it.
Mm-hmm. And that happens a lot, especially with junior golfers whose parents don't know anything about golf, which is quite common, actually, surprisingly.
Yeah, and then we've had situations where the person who actually does know something about golf, they know they don't know everything, and so they defer to the person who knows nothing. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's all we've got for...
We digressed a little bit.
Yeah, we digressed, but I think we got some good information covered.
It was fun. It was good.
So we're going to try to do these live feeds it's a month maybe, every 4 weeks or so. So if you have a topic you want us to address in person live, where you can communicate with us back and forth and get some of your questions answered, shoot us a message or send us our phone numbers are all over the internet, so.
Well, anyone who's watching this can comment or you can do the Instagram comment. Lauren knows how that all works. So.
All right, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for all your comments.
Yes, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for coming, and we will catch you on the flip side.
See you soon.
See ya.